MusicView on WNYU FM.
Good evening.
My name is Tim Sommer. I'm here with two members of Sonic Youth. Why don't you introduce yourselves and associate the names with the voices?
I'm Kim Gordon.
I'm Thurston Moore.
And who isn't here?
Lee isn't here. He's with his mother and father in Long Island. He went to visit them. And Bob's in New Jersey, so he can never make it to Manhattan. Unless it's an emergency, and he didn't really qualify this as an emergency. But,
You've got a new EP out. Well, a new 6-song, 12-inch. It's out on German Zenser Records.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too familiar with the Zenser label. What else is on that?
I think they put out De Hout, their first record, and
they put out that Die Hout record that Lydia's on.
yeah.
They put out the Throbbing Gristle record, Funeral in Berlin.
Frieder Butzmann, German composer, who's going to be here in April. I think.
Yeah, he's really great.
And this African group called the Columbia Sisters. And I don't know what else.
Are also really great.
The name of the EP is Kill Your Idols. Is that the name?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any chance of it getting released over here?
Probably not. I mean,
There's no
reason.
need for it because it's because of the situation of the American dollar. It's pretty. You can import pretty cheaply into the U.S.
Yeah.
What do you think it is that makes a German label get interested in Sonic Youth, whereas an American label might not be?
I don't know. We were over there, and he saw us, and he liked it, and he just wanted to put us out. I don't know why they were much more behind us than any label in the States. Maybe it's because most labels in the States aren't that familiar with us. It's a larger thing here.
Now, you've been over to Europe twice, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Once this past fall.
Yeah.
And and last June.
Last June.
Short tour last June.
And both times, I imagine, you were pretty well received.
Yeah. The second time was better. The first time was only like a 10-day tour kind of thing, and it was real touch and go. The second one was much more organized, and it was much more together, and it was better gigs, better response.
Do you find that the Europeans are less quick to categorize a band like Sonic Youth?
What do you mean, categorize?
Well, in America, it seems that you've gotten people might not listen to Sonic Youth because they lump him in with various categories with the various people they've worked with before.
I think it's also in Europe, people really look to New York. They're really excited about anything that comes out of New York, initially.
Even if it's not necessarily what the people in New York are excited about.
Right. Whereas the rest of the country, or in the U.S., it seems to be the opposite. There seems to be a built-in prejudice against anything that comes out of New York, that immediately has to be fought off. So it's not really, doesn't have to do with, even specific categorization. I think it just
It's the same thing as here. Same thing as here, more fascination with the foreign element kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the same.
I mean, people would rather go see, they have more of a fascination with something that's coming out of Europe or London. If it's here, they'll go see it before they go see Live Skull or Sonic Youth or Swans or something. They'll go see something more exotic that is a different culture. Well, yeah, that's understandable.
It's a bit of in America, it can be a bit of a paradox because people, you say that people might shy away from something like Sonic Youth by associating it with New York, whereas in New York itself, Sonic Youth is really quite distanced from what is, hip or what, people think of as going on in New York.
Well, what's hip in New York? I mean, what do you mean, hip-hop?
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're not so much associated with that. I mean, I guess we're associated with, I think we're very New York. I mean, as far as, like, living here, I mean, living, in our low-rent apartment and all that stuff. We have much association with New York as, whoever's really hip here. I mean, like Grandmaster Flash, as far as street culture or whatever. We're just sort of different realization of it.
We'll get back to that, but let's hear a song right now from Sonic Youth. The first thing we're going to hear is the title track off of the 12-inch. One side is 3 new songs. The other side is 3 songs, 2 of which appeared on the album, another one a live version of a song that appeared on the album. Those are remixes of the album, right?
Well, no, they're not. They're
remasters.
They're remasters. It's kind of a funny record because it was since this Berlin label's now manufacturing the first 2 records, it was meant to be sort of a promo or introduction to those records, and also an introduction for the album that we're doing with them in I don't know, sometime soon.
So you're gonna play the title track, "Kill Your Idols."
That's right. Is there anything
All right.
you'd like to say about it before?
No, this is dedicated to Robert Christgau. If he's listening, we send our love.
Okay, "Kill Your Idols." It's from Sonic Youth on WNYU FM MusicView. That was "Kill Your Idols" from Sonic Youth. We are here tonight on MusicView on WNYU FM with 2 members of Sonic Youth, Kim Gordon and Thurston Moore. Is that song so much about Robert Christgau, or did he just fit into the lyrics conveniently?
Is it so much about him? No, it's just sort of it's sort of a song as it's like sort of doing something, using music as revenge, in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of revenge being sort of a creative asset of music, and yeah, I mean it's about him. It's just about him because we live here, and he's the one person who we have trouble with. I mean,
Do you think
why don't you ask further? I mean, I can't really.
Well, do you think
harp on
he probably reacts to something like that, or some people might, as hostility when in fact it's probably just more criticism? I mean, it's more.
It's hostility. It's definitely hostility. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, we just have a problem with him, but it's not. It's.
Well, it was sort of, I mean, it was sort of done out of fun, you know, I think, more than anything. You know, I mean, it was, you know, like writing newspapers, his format, and he feels, you know, with great ease, he can, you know, say whatever he wants and in whatever tone, with whatever ease he wants. And in the same vein, you know, music is our context, and, you know, and the same applies. It's, you know, it's...
Yeah, I mean, rock, I mean, the deal is, I mean, in any local area, the rock bands and their local scene, be it as it may, there's always a tie-in with the rock journalism of that area. Mm-hmm. And
except in New York.
They feed each other, which is very important. Now, in New York, it's very weird. I mean, this being sort of the media eye of almost the world. I mean, this is such like a cultural center, and all we have is this paper, The Village Voice, and we have its music editor, Robert Christgau, who has his likes and dislikes. And there is like a very healthy underground here, which he refuses to acknowledge because he obviously doesn't like it.
Well, it's not just that. He feels, I think he feels that, you know, it's not his job to promote scenes, but he also doesn't see that on some level there is a certain healthiness to promoting scene, or not even that, but usually in most places there's a certain pride in what goes on, and I mean, you see it in London, you know, there's tremendous pride in the scene there. You see it in the West Coast, and obviously that can get on your nerves too, but it's just kind of peculiar that there doesn't seem to be any kind of sense of pride, you know, in one's own backyard.
Well, there's a definite...
Which is the most, I think, the strangest thing.
There's a definite hierarchy of sort of criticism to the scene, etc., in New York that's existed for years, and which seems very intent on excluding something like Sonic Youth.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's the sort of feelings that could inspire a song like that.
That song is basically directed not so much towards Robert Christgau, but is towards the general feeling which has come up with a lot of, I mean, this so-called scene here, is that the only way to really get anywhere is to aspire to what, say, like Robert Christgau will appreciate, because then you'll be noticed. And we think that's all wrong. I mean, you should do what you want, and, you know, I mean, it might be commercial suicide or whatever, but it's just not to aspire to that, not to aspire to, like, trying to play the music that will fit in at the danceteria, that, you know, kind of thing.
Right, I mean, then it becomes a situation where the critics are promoting a situation of, you know, very conventionalized and conditioned kind of listening and, you know, creativity. I mean, if, you know, it's, you know, like the jazz and pop poll supposedly reflects individual, you know, critic
Yet
taste.
they're all the same.
Yet they're all basically the same, and you know, I don't see, you know, and you can note a little bit of cynicism, you know, even from Christgau about what were his initial hopes, or, you know, in pop music and even, you know, groups of Gang of Four or whatever, and how that's sort of fallen flat, and yet, but he won't. I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, we don't hate. I mean, we don't hate Robert Christgau. I mean, I mean, to be fair, I mean, he has written some great, lasting pieces in his time. I mean, it's just sort of his situation locally.
But there's a certain passivity, I guess, is what I wanted to say about the attitude that he, sort of the editorial attitude, you know, that he feels is the role of a critic, and at the same time, it's not exactly a passive attitude. You know, he's not really being passive and just sort of reflecting on what's going on and not wanting to interject his own opinions, because in being passive, he is reestablishing, you know, what the status quo is.
We'll get back to that, but let's hear another song right now from Sonic Youth. Another song of the EP. This one's Brother James.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, you sing this, so is there anything that you'd like to say about it?
No. It just speaks for itself.
Okay, Brother James. It's from Sonic Youth on WNYU FM. Brother James, that's off of the Kill Your Idols EP. That's from Sonic Youth. We're here tonight with half of Sonic Youth on WNYU FM MusicView. As you were just saying, there's been a tendency to categorize, to put you in this sort of downtown thing and not let you out of it, in a sense. Do you think that people judge you too heavily by the people you've worked with, or the way you play your instruments, or
who we work? I mean, I don't understand.
Do you think there's been too much of a tendency to judge you?
Yeah, but who cares? I don't care. I mean, so what?
I mean,
they call us downtown art rock. I mean, yeah, we live downtown. Big deal. Yeah, a couple people in the band are artists. I mean, they're visual artists. So what? I mean, we don't. You know, it has nothing. I mean, we're also a rock band. We're a rock band. I mean, you know, call us what you want. I mean, it doesn't. We don't think of ourselves as that. I mean, people definitely are going to think of us as that. You know, especially the art noise. I mean, you know, they call us noise, and I mean, we have a strong distaste for noise. I mean, who wants to hear noise? And we play music. You know. I mean, that's just useless. Talking about something like that, I mean, what people call you, you know, they have to do it, and it'll always be done. You'll always be labeled somehow, something. You know, when we go on tour, like, the promoters will make posters saying, like, New York Art Wave or something like that. I mean, you know, you gotta put up with it.
Why do you think there's been less, why do you think there haven't been so many people playing around with instruments within the context of rock and roll, the way Sonic Youth do, expanding the vocabulary of, say, what you can do with a guitar?
People are. I mean, we're definitely not the only people. I mean, around here, you have somebody like, of course, like Glenn Branca, who a couple of us have worked with, who's very interesting along those lines. He's definitely an instigator of a lot of rethinking of the use of guitar. A band like Swans, I mean, the use of guitars is extraordinary in a way, as just sort of creating something, you know, quite different than the normalcy.
It would seem that that people maybe. Do you think the time is right for people to start realizing that the vocabulary of rock and roll can include things like oddly tuned or oddly played guitars, or non-traditional instruments like whatever, like say Einstür's End use and stuff like that, that the time is right for people to realize that that sort of thing can be incorporated into rock and roll, not just into avant-garde or noise or...
Well, the time has been right for a long time.
Sure,
I mean, it's not a necessity in creating interesting music, but...
Right.
And you know, in that way, it doesn't seem like such a big deal should be made out of the strangeness of it, but more out of the, you know, the end product.
Well,
as, you know, as creating, being able to make something, you know, that, you know, will cut through, you know, expectations.
Yeah. Most music we listen to isn't like, you know, we don't listen to like totally what you consider like weirded out music. I mean, a lot of us listen, we were very infatuated with like Creedence Clearwater type music, REM, Black Flag, Minutemen.
the way you're using guitars or what's the word, expanding the vocabulary goes along with what you're doing. You know, one isn't an excuse for the other.
I mean, the vocabulary we're not expanding it because it's already there. I mean, it's just like an unlimited thing. I mean, the use of electric guitar. I mean, it's already unlimited, and you just have to realize that.
Right. It's an inanimate object that is
Yeah,
there.
it
for you
is,
to
Yeah, I
do
mean, it's
anything
as
you want with.
unlimited as
you know.
your emotion, you know, your emotions or however your thought,
Right.
you know, wants to take it.
That's pretty much.
It's like a blank form. It's like somebody using you know, an artist using cartoon form or something. You know, it's
like
using it as a blank form in a way.
it's like white math.
What's white man?
White math is a blank form. That's pretty much our main
Well, that's
focus.
one.
Is like we, you know, we're just weaned on. We just love playing the electric guitar, and it's just like when we see like all this in the last couple of years, is like especially from like London and everything, is just like trying to get rid of the electric guitar because it's like, you know, it's rock and roll, it's passe, it's
Raucous.
like, you know, yeah. And
it's
it's
just
like,
crap.
forget it, man. That's dumb. I mean, it's just stupid.
Because the guitar, right? You can do
Yeah.
a million things with it that haven't been done, or you know, that don't sound like boogie.
Yeah. Oh,
Whatever.
any musical instrument. Believe me, you could do stuff with. We just happen to be, you know, totally into electric guitars, and that's like the basis of all our material. And
Now you're putting a label together.
yeah, we've started our own label. I mean, we started a couple things. We're just sort of taking things in our own hands because we like to. I mean, we put out a magazine called Killer Magazine. You might or might not have seen around. We just started a label called Ecstatic Peace, and the first release is a cassette, and it's a spoken word cassette. One side is Lydia Lunch reading a piece called Wet Me on a Dead Night, and the other side is Mike Jarrah of Swans, the singer of Swans, reading a piece of his called I'm an Infant, I Worship Him. And Lydia's is extremely hardcore pornography that she wrote years ago that she's reading, and Mike's is just cannibalism and the resultant carnage. So you might be interested in that. The next thing is we're going to put out is Killer Guitar Tape #1, and it's going to be short, sort of 4-minute, insane guitar pieces by the likes of Lee Ronaldo, maybe Greg Ginn from Black Flag, Glenn Branca.
Solo guitar pieces.
D. Boone from Minutemen, that type of thing. The guy from the Meat Puppets. I myself, maybe. Lee Ronaldo, Sonic Youth. Guitar player from Swans, Norman. And that'll be interesting. And then there's going to be a live Sonic Youth anthology. And hopefully we're going to try to put out this single while we're doing Not Right by the Stooges, and on the other side is Swans doing Dirt by the Stooges. That ought to be fun.
So the idea is to keep this a fun label.
Well, it matters what your type of fun may be.
Do you have any connections left with Neutral Records?
I don't know. Yeah, sure. You know, I mean, our first 2 records aren't Neutral. I mean, they haven't really talked to us lately. We haven't talked to them.
We should probably mention that there are 2 records that precede Kill Your Idols, and that's one's an almost LP, or you call it an LP.
Right, just
I think that's stretching it a bit.
no, it's like a mini LP called Sonic Youth, and then the second was an LP called Confusion is Sex, and they're on Neutral. They're available domestically. They're being re-released in Europe on Zensor
Remastered.
and remastered. The sound quality will be quite leagues better, but we haven't totally severed our ties with Neutral.
So
At least I don't think. I mean,
there's a chance, that there's every possibility that future.
we'll put product out on anybody's label. I mean, it's everybody's in the music business, and I mean it's a horrible business, and you have to deal with it. I mean, we'll just we'll put it out. We're just interested in putting stuff out. I don't care who it's on. Right now it's going to be on our own little label. It'll be on Neutral. It'll be on Zensor. It'll be on Kill Crisco Records. I don't know.
Any
Timmy Summer Records.
Any final declamations from Sonic Youth?
No final declamations from us.
You haven't been playing gigs. You might be playing around then. That's what I figured.
Yeah, we're rehearsing all new material, so that's what it'll be like. We're not gonna play anything from the past, at least not around here. I don't think, because we've played it to death, and I'm sure whatever audience we have is just sick and tired of it, because we surely are.
Gigs aren't terribly easy to get in New York City.
No, they're not very easy to get. I mean, you can get like a Tuesday night at CBGB's for like $25, but I mean, this is like ridiculous. I mean, we could open for Crossfire Choir at CBGB's, and, but I don't know. Who cares? I mean, we'll just when we're ready to play, we'll just like call somewhere and say, "Can we play?" And if they let us, we'll do it.
Any American or European tours in the works?
Europe in the fall.
And U.S. late spring.
Late spring.
Okay.
So.
I guess that about.
All right, thanks, Tim.
We'll wrap things up. My name is Tim Somer, and this has been MusicView. And we've been here tonight with Kim Gordon and Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth. Tune in next Friday at 7:30 for another scintillating edition of MusicView.